Ninjago Dragons Rising. It's an all-new, brand new show, and due to that fact, it's gonna introduce a whole bunch of new characters. Characters like Aaron, Sora, Raptor, Ryu, both guy with claws, both guy with sword, and characters like, do I have figures for? Characters like Geo, Euphrasia, Lord Roz, that one person from episode 10, and of course, Bonzo. With all these characters, so many, everybody's gonna have a favorite. Obviously, including me. Can you guess who it is? Yeah, it's Raptor. No, it's the myth, the absolute legend himself, Wyldfyre, or as she likes to call herself.
I am danger!
So yeah, a while ago I made one of these on Pixel, why Pixel is the MVP of Crystallized, and I'm back doing one on Wyldfyre, and I will do one for every single character for every single season. Trust me, I'll get it done. So yeah, here we go. Why Wyldfyre is the MVP of Dragons Rising. Specifically Season 1. Because I haven't seen Season 2 yet. Maybe she's the MVP of that Season 2. I don't know. Like the Pixel vid, I'll go in order of appearance. So Wyldfyre technically appears in episode 6. And quite honestly, a pretty decent twist. Ninjago recently loves to do twists, and unfortunately most of the recent ones either are predictable and don't leave an impact, or are not predictable and don't leave an impact. You have the Ice Emperor, who was obviously Zane. Then you have the Skull Sorcerer, who I technically didn't see it coming, but even as a humongous Skull Sorcerer enthusiast, it's not the craziest. And then you have Hirumi, again as the Vengestone Buyer, which is the exception because that was absolutely an amazing twist in my opinion. Like actually fantastic.
Spiders in the house. No way! Spider in the mouse. No way! What? I can't wait to find the spider. This is a moment in history! Take a picture! Yo!
And then you have this. Initially, it was set up to be Kai. Lloyd's raving about, oh my god, Kai, you absolute idiot, you dunderhead. I told you to stay at the monastery, always blowing like the absolute moron you are. She said that word for word. But then once he gets to the jail cell, he says, you're not Kai. Cut. That is some pretty good suspense building, I guess. I say I guess because suspense building is not the right word. I think it's mystery building. Yeah, that was pretty good mystery building. We see a fire user and it's not Kai. What do you mean? So already, Wyldfyre is set up to be a great and interesting character. There's a twist to her before we even see her as to basically what her element is, and that lasts all the way up to episode 20. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say, but goat behavior. Next episode. Next episode is where we actually see her in the flesh. And when she sees Lloyd, she absolutely goes feral on him. Immediately, we get to see her personality like within a couple of lines. She's crazy, intense, feral, and the wombo combos she's pulling on Lloyd are absolutely cool. Fire in this show is animated absolutely spectacularly. I'm not a fan of some of the elements like Lloyd's. I think it looks a bit weird and worse than it did in seasons 11 through 15. But Fire, it looks amazing. And specifically Wyldfyre's, like the moves right here. Kai doesn't do that. He's not her. Those are insanely cool moves. After the confusion with Lloyd about him being a Imperium soldier, which another thing that's great about Wyldfyre is that she's probably the funniest character of this season. Like her direction here. So yeah, After her and Lloyd's little beef is settled and they beat up all the Imperium soldiers, Wyldfyre immediately goes to free Heatwave. I almost forgot their name for a second. When her and Lloyd make it to the prison, a little detail I like is how she immediately tries to open solid metal doors with her bare hands. It just goes to show how kind of crazy and kind of out there she is compared to everybody else. Then Lloyd basically breaks the door with his green energy power, and she starts acting kind of like a dragon with her family Heatwave. The establishing characteristics and personality traits of Wyldfyre are done pretty banger in this episode. I mean, I could say this for a lot of characters, but I I love Wyldfyre more, so yeah, that's kind of basically it for this episode. A great, fully real introduction for her, and that's not even the peak, because it's the very, very next episode where things get genuinely amazing. Now, in case you somehow missed it, the subtitle to this show is Dragons Rising, meaning it's gonna focus a bunch on dragons. Now, dragons in Ninjago previously have always been pretty cool, but unfortunately, there are some instances where they are basically, as the last episode's name is, mindless beasts. Specifically, those absolutely abhorrent elemental dragons. I don't like them at all. Then you have dragons like Griefbringer and Boreal. They're very, very cool, but just kind of basic evil monsters trying to ninja the punch. Then we have First Realm dragons, which they're fine. Firstborn's pretty cool. Um, the original four dragons, Shard, Wisp, Rocky, and Flame, I think, they were pretty good too. They had personalities slightly, and then they merged to the Ultra Dragon and became basically kind of a giant dog. And I can't really think of any other dragon that's like fully a dragon and not something like, Onigami's dragon or Nia's dragon from Seabound. So yeah, Dragons Rising, if it wants to stick to, being a good show with the title Dragons Rising, has to do some cool and new stuff with dragons. And this episode absolutely does that. Wyldfyre's backstory of being raised by a dragon is one of, if not the best, one of, if not my favorite, origin stories from this show. And origin stories are pretty important because that's the origin of the character. So to have one this cool and this unique is genuinely awesome. What is it, like 12 years of this show and they thought of something this fresh and new? Like this right here is the reason that I'm glad the show is still going, because this shows that they still get fresh, new, juicy, brilliant ideas. And it's not just the idea, it's the execution that rocks too. So Wyldfyre lands in the wilderness and is basically adopted and raised by Heatwave. And the entire sequence, I think it's about 8 minutes, is amazing. Like, I don't know, I really don't know what to say. Like I said, it's a fresh new idea and it's executed in a great way. Seeing her slowly pick up the traits of Heatwave and seeing them bond over time was awesome. We see her get super duper attached to Heatwave because obviously that's like the only thing around here, and genuinely their relationship together is amazing. This season has a bunch of human and dragon relationships. There's Heatwave and Wyldfyre, Ryu, Eren, Sora, Xanth, and Aerocore. Like, yeah, there's a bunch of human and dragon relationships, and I think the one between them is fantastic, and it gets even better in later episodes. So yeah, a fantastic origin for her, and that's just not that. Let me catch my train of thoughts. As the episode continues, after the origin, her and Lloyd basically find out that there's a bunch more dragons locked up, and they decide to free them. And after they free them, they run rampant through the city. And here we get to see Wyldfyre dynamic with Lloyd, which is great. Here it's said that she's very extraordinarily impulsive, does not care about others and destruction. And once again, as I mentioned, this is going to play into her arc later in the season. Yeah, it's just fantastic. Her and her character dynamics. It's probably one of my favorite things from this season. Like obviously, they're both trying to get the dragons out of here, but I personally feel like Wildfire is trying a bit more due to her connection to dragons. Like it feels like she's just thinking about getting them out, and Lloyd's thinking about getting them out and protecting the people of the city, and catching up with Aaron and Sora. So, yeah. And this basically goes on for the rest of the episode. As I mentioned earlier, she's funny, and she continues to be funny in this episode. Also, this bit is fantastic right here. Like actually, her "I am danger, I will be the danger." That whole bit, it's very awesome. And towards the end of the episode, whoops. And at the end of the episode, we get yet another great dynamic scene between her and my boy Rapton and Zion, where they talk about always picking the fighting option. Then after that, we proceed to get up to that point the best action scene of the series so far. So I mean, yeah, fantastic episode, fantastic backstory on a fantastic character with fantastic action. I mean, what else do I have to say? Like genuinely, I think this is um, it's not her best episode, but the fact that I had to sit there and think about it, I think it kind of shows how great it is. In my full review video, I don't know if I said I think Wildfire has the best backstory of the season, but as I mentioned, I said Sora has the second best backstory here. Who has the first best? I mean, I think you should have seen it coming.
Woo! Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for. That's what it's all about. Woo!
We start off with Wildfire's backstory, which call me crazy, but this might be one of my favorite backstories in the entire show. No, hear me out. So if I didn't, I'm gonna say it right here. Wildfire has the best backstory of the season. It's innovative, it's creative, it's amazing. She has the best humor of the season, one of the best designs. But I mean, have you seen these characters? They look fantastic. Next is episode 9. She doesn't really do much here, as far as I remember. So yeah, we can just go straight to episode 10, which is another banger. Not better than episode 8, but it's great. Like her banter with Lloyd, it's excellent with Kai, and this is the first time she's seen him. And at this point, I'm pretty sure she thinks everybody has fire. Like when she met Lloyd, she thought his element was fire. She said it was green because he was sick. So yeah, she sees Kai and she tells this master of fire who's had the element for like years that he could do better and she could teach her some pointers. So yeah, like genuinely, I think she's incredibly funny, as I mentioned before, and her ego is handled excellently. It's not like pre-season 8 Kai ego where it was absolutely annoying and unbearable. No, here they get a really good balance of being very full of herself, but not being full of herself to the point where it's annoying. Like, it's great. And like most of part 1, it's pretty good setup. It sets up Kai's and Wildfire's dynamic, where like pretty much with everybody else, Wildfire thinks she's absolutely above them and that they suck and that they need to do better and that she rocks, which will like play a greater role and a greater story in episodes to come. But there's this very nice moment where they are on the same level. Like it builds up their differences and similarities. Their differences with her being more impulsive and egotistical, and their similarities for like stuff for destruction and power and fighting and stuff like that. So yeah, as I mentioned 100 million times, her dynamic and writing with characters is pretty great. And that's about it for part 1. Yeah, here it's. I mean, I'm just gonna say I'm saying the same things over and over again. So yeah, So far, she's an absolutely excellent character. And the crazy thing is, she gets even better in part 2. So, let's jump into it. Alright, now let's hop into part 2. In episodes 11 and 12, Wildfire continues to be, the same old awesome Wildfire. Her dynamics are pretty much the same. She acts the same, and yeah, her more so animalistic traits are pretty much emphasized and shown in episode 11, where Sora says the dragons like to sleep in the den, and us humans like to sleep up in the monastery. Well, some of us humans. And we go to Wyldfyre, who's chilling out with Heatwave with the dragons. Lloyd suggests a bed in the bathroom, and Wildfire basically goes, "My bathroom is everywhere." So pretty much more stuff showing how different and unique she is from everybody else. Later, she gets into a fight with Kai over training with her fire. Again, showing how more so egotistical she is and full of herself she is. In episode 12, she does less stuff here than in episode 11, but I do want to point out this line right here.
Wave.
Wait. Where am I gonna sit?
The obvious place, behind me.
But I'm older!
Exactly. Behind me's a good place for the afternoon nap someone your age needs.
I'm not that old.
Genuinely a fantastic joke, one of my favorites from the season. Now we get to episode 13, and this is where things really start to pick up. So, in this episode, Wildfire basically has to learn to stop pranking people and learn that, sometimes pranking is basically bullying if everybody's not, in on the joke. Which I think is a great message, genuinely. Ninjago is always telling, sorts of lessons and messages, whether they be in singular episodes, in season 1. I don't remember the exact episode, but it's the Peak Ninja episode where they learned, strength and issues within lies and rumors. Or it could be across the entire season, like in Seabound, where the message there is something more serious and sincere and deep. Basically, you can't win them all. Sometimes there's just going to be hard situations, and as Maya said, that's just where the cookie crumbles. Here they decided to go for a season 1 of Masters of Spinjitzu type approach, where the lesson is in a singular episode. It starts off with Wildfire basically stealing the Bone King's gems. Before revealing she actually had the gems, she belittles Kai yet again, telling him that she figured out the pattern to escape without his useless and dumb ninja skills, and B, constantly told the Bone King and his army that she didn't have the gems. And then when she revealed it, she was just saying, it's just a prank, a jokey joke. Bone King then basically says it's alright, handshake, and Wildfire burns his hand. They get into a scuffle and escape, basically showing that Wildfire does not care or take many situations seriously at all. Kai then talks to her about this, and we get yet another banger joke, and a bunch of banger jokes here.
Take the power you've been given seriously.
Sorry, nodded off there. Forgot you're the elemental master of boring! Sure, saving the world's important.
Glad you have some priorities.
Because if the world is destroyed, who'll be left to prank?
Who?
You don't need to ninja-splain lava tides to...
After their nice and brief talk here, they head over to the Lava Tide area, or the Wilderness. And this is where we meet the, as I just mentioned, Lava Tides, who are annoying. Though I find them painfully unfunny and annoying, they do play a pretty major part in Wildfire's little character arc of this episode. Basically, she completely trolled them in her eyes, but to them, she basically literally ruined their house, their home. She threw around rotten food, messed with their statue, basically literally annoyed them as they annoyed me, because oh my god, these guys are literally unbearable. And she saw it as a joke that they were in, and a joke that they appreciated, because she thinks that they love her, but they don't. They detest her, as I detest them. So after that, Kai mentions that they really need the Dragon Core, and one of the Lava Tides brings it up. Wildfire comes in and says, "No, well, actually, I'm the leader," and they throw it back down. Kai then mentions that, well, maybe she can change me, maybe she can grow and become better. So then another lava type brings out a scroll of grievances, which is longer than the episode count, one piece on the wiki. And so the cleaning commences. After cleaning up, Wildfire says, "Man, what good times." And then we get this scene from Kai. And I genuinely think, as I mentioned earlier, it's great, especially for today, because recently there's been a bunch of jokes and bits that attempt to be funny but are at the expense of someone else, whether it be now I'm gonna get deep, so if you have a problem with that, then you can just mute until this part. Quote unquote jokes that are either misogynist, transphobic, homophobic, racist, stuff like that, jokes that are at the expense of someone else, jokes that they're really not finding it funny, but you think it's an absolute hoot and a holler. Jokes that are just really, straight up harmful and don't really have a punchline other than, ha, ha, you suck. So, teaching kids that, making sure the person you're joking about and joking with, making sure they're in on the joke is important. So, yeah, that's good stuff here. So after this pretty important talk with Kai, she's given a golden opportunity to do the classic fire handshake. And she ultimately doesn't do it. And this is genuinely a really great moment for her because I'm pretty sure this is actually the first time where she took in consideration and cared about what somebody else was actually saying. But ultimately, at least to the Lava Tides, it really didn't matter. They throw the core back into the pit of no return and basically belittle her, telling her that she basically can literally never change. Which is also a great moment and ties to the overall season's message and theme of change. It can be scary, but sometimes it could be for the better. And in Wildfire's case, though it didn't automatically lead to something good, it was for the better. After this, she views her attempts as ultimately useless, but from a little pep talk from the goats, a little chat, she decides to, go with them into the pit of no return, and they get the core back. Episodes 15, 15, 14 is just them goofing around with Dorama, basically playing hot potato with the core, the two ninja there, Dorama and his cool henchman. And ultimately, at the end of, I believe, episode 15, Heatwave has to go off against a giant lava tide, and this right here sets up her best moment, I think. Heatwave battles the giant lava tide for a bit, and ultimately ends up getting extremely hurt. This is noticed in episode, I'm gonna check, in episode 16. And once they land, Wyldfyre is basically like at a stump. She has no idea what to do. Kai does, and he goes running off. Wyldfyre, who's not understanding what's happening here at all, is all panicked and worried, thinking Kai's basically abandoned her, and goes to follow. The two of them head out to like a field in the wilderness, and they come across these blue crystals. Kai knows what it does, and he basically asks Wyldfyre to get a bunch of them. They head back to Heatwave, and the crystals are helping heal Heatwave. And Wyldfyre, yet again, is absolutely floored. Like, what the heck? Something useful that isn't about fighting? Say it isn't so. So she basically asks Kai if if he can teach her more about this kind of stuff. And that leads into episode 17, where it's not only her best episode, but Kai's best episode since My Enemy, My Friend. Yeah, that long ago. In this episode, Heatwave's condition seems to be getting worse, and Wyldfyre seems to be getting more and more upset. She's literally pacing, walking back and forth, constantly looking over at Heatwave like this situation is taking a pretty big toll on her. So this is where Kai steps in and basically, starts telling her about the things Master Wu taught him and how it could help her. And at first, it's not working because Heatwave's in the back, constantly groaning in pain. And of course it's not going to help her. Well, at least at first. Trying to be calm or calm down in a situation where someone you love, whether it be a relative or a mate, is extremely difficult to do. You're going to be constantly thinking about them, constantly worrying about them, but ultimately at the end of the day, you have to just, calm down and just be cool. You have to relax yourself, hope for the best, and just hope things get better. Constantly stressing out and worrying is going to be like really bad for you, so it's important to just take your mind off of it, but to ultimately not forget. So, in order to help her, Kai uses his past experiences to help her in this specific situation, which, two things. For starters, it's generally a really good thing to do when somebody's in a stressful situation and it's a situation you've gone through. It's good to be very empathetic, but not in a way that's kind of egotistical, like yeah, I went through it too. I mean, it just gets better, so calm down or whatever. But relating your experiences to help them get through it, and that's what Kai does in this scene. And the second reason I love this is that it helps characters around them. Arcs that not only help the main character, but the characters around them. That's great stuff. That's why I really like Cole in Master of the Mountain, because his journey is not just, all about him. Obviously, the main story is about Cole, but through his journey, his adventure, his turmoils, it ultimately helps the people around him. It helps the Ugly, it helps Vanya, who goes to help Wu. It's genuinely just a circle of helping. And Wyldfyre's character, her struggles here, the way Kai is able to see himself within her, his hot-headedness, his short temper, his rudeness, his impatientness, he sees it within her, and due to his past experiences, he's able to help her. Her arc this season, the lessons she needs to learn, has to do with Kai. And so it basically helps him show that he's become a better person, if you get what I'm saying. Her going through struggles and problems that are not only relatable to maybe some of the viewers, but to somebody in the actual situation helps both parties. It helps shows the development, the growth of the person who's gone through it. It helps the person who's going through these problems make it through this horrible and tough time because of the experiences of someone who's a friend, basically kind of like a father figure. And after some passage of time and words from Kai, she's not really mastered it fully, but she's into the groove of it. And over the course of that time, Heatwave, well, he healed. So to recap, because I literally haven't done that like 4 times already, I think this is Wyldfyre's best episode. She goes through a very good, personal, and kind of emotional, kind of somewhat deep arc here. And the arc she goes through helps show the growth of another character. So it's basically win-win for 2 people. We get to see growth and new experiences and relationships shared and bonded through Wyldfyre because of Wyldfyre. And after this episode, after stress is basically relieved off of her, she seems to be pretty chill with everyone. She isn't belittling anyone, she isn't insulting anyone or comparing. She isn't being unnecessarily rude to any of her fellow teammates, she's just being chill. Over the course of the season, she seems to have released a bunch of stress and anger lie deep within her. She bonds closely more with the team, but more specifically with Kai. No longer is she constantly comparing their powers or, yelling at him, calling him incompetent and worse than her. They're on fantastic terms now, basically sharing the same mind in multiple scenes. Looking at the way Wyldfyre acts and treats people in episode 8 compared to episode 10 and, not episode 10, episode 20 and 19, it's pretty much night and day. So with everything I said and spoke about over the past like 25-ish minutes, that is why I believe Wyldfyre is the GOAT, the MVP of Dragons Rising. Season 1. And for what I've seen so far, she may be the GOAT of Season 2 too. So, yeah. I've been talking for a lot. That's it. Goodbye. And, danger.
Danger!